Hello people, and welcome to another top 5 Paradox Mods map video. You guys really enjoyed this last week, so I'm happy to keep these going. And this time we've got 5 more amazing maps that you can play right now on Paradox Mods. Let's get stuck into them, shall we? First up is Cape Calvin, which is a heavily modified version of Archipelago Haven from the base game. It is a European theme map. It's a climate range between 3 and 34 degrees centigrade. Lies within the Northern Hemisphere, has a 30% buildable area, all of its outside connections, and all available natural resources. For those interested in natural resources, the whole map is blanketed in fertile land, so you can pretty much place farms wherever you like. Then there's pockets of ore, mainly located around the hills and mountain ridges, and the oil tends to be localized in and around the water. And if you are looking to plant in some industry, then your air pollution from this orientation blows from west to east. So as we mentioned, this is a redeveloped version of Archipelago Haven. If you played it on the base game, you're probably going to recognize some of the non-buildable areas here. But let's dive into what the map maker has done. Riri has done a really nice job here. He's set up some really interesting waterways. And it almost looks like it's kind of a irrigation channel, really, because he's clearly gone for some heavy farmland vibes out here. I really like the way this little stream breaks off into a larger pool, a little pond here. Then there's lots of detailing, there's plenty of tree linings, obviously replicate some kind of agriculture, and barns being dropped in here as well. I always love to see little touches like this across the map. It's always nice, I think, when the map kind of leads you down a path to develop an area. I think sometimes not every aspect, but this is very tastefully done. Lots of tree-lined fields here to kind of demarcate the land boundaries, with some of those field textures in there as well, which is really nice. And then this waterway here does kind of hug the really nice mountain ridge over this way, and then it comes around and then goes back out into the main body of water and out into the sea eventually. There's more little bits of detailing over here with those barns, lots of tree-lined fields and roads over here. It's been very tastefully done. And then little bridges that cross over back from the agriculture land, if you like, back onto the mainland over this way. And then the little irrigation channel continues in this fashion as it eventually does arrive back into the main lake over here. And then all the networks have been really tastefully reworked. There's rail over here as well, ready to dive into so you can get it right at the start of the city. And this, of course, feeds off to an outside connection. And then just some nice, tastefully reworked interchanges. Always nice to see this sort of stuff. Cities 2's road tools in actions as well, of course. I really like how configurable all the lanes are now. Nice little use of median and asymmetrical here, just to give dedicated turning lanes. Really well put together, you know. So simple, but so nice at the end of the day, I think, isn't it? Same thing again over here as well. Real simple interchange designs, but lots of inspiration to get started to at various different points across the map. There's another dead rail connection over here as well that you're free to expand, of course. Your outside power connection also cutting through this very dense kind of pine and conifer forest, which I really like, actually. There's something quite appealing about very heavily forested mountain slopes, isn't there? It's just really does get me going. It's exactly my sort of map, this one. I love like super dense forest on mountains. It's very nice. And then we've got a bridge coming over here as well with some parallel rail action, which is always super nice to see. So this comes down and across here before meeting up with wider networks over this way. There's a big train interchange here as well, where the intercity line does join those internal spaces. Some really nice networking action up against the coast here on multiple different layers. Dual train lines, so you could treat one as internal and one as intercity if you wanted to kind of separate them out to help with train traffic. All that infrastructure is here for you to do that. And then this 4-lane highway just embanked nicely on the cliff texture using the cut and fill feature as well. I'm really happy to see map makers making use of this. It almost gives it kind of a safety barrier, kind of crash barrier vibe, doesn't it? Or it's a retaining wall to keep, you know, the dirt and the sand off the road. It's very tastefully done. You can get a really good example of it here. You've got to give some inconsistencies, I think, just with kind of map jank, but, you know, you're just looking into the 4th dimension there, aren't you? We had that with CS1 as well. So really nice layering of the networks there. Super big fan of that one. It's very nice indeed. And then these continue around to another dead end where, again, you can then take them off into your own build, where they do span out across the waterways and more densely forested land. A larger island space out here as well, of course. Maybe some nice places to use some of the beach property stuff if you did end up picking up the DLC over here. But a really nice, tasteful reworking of Archipelago Haven. Definitely worth getting. All the maps today are linked down below, so if you're interested in playing this one, don't forget to go ahead and download it. And give the map a rating on PDX Mods as well if you do indeed enjoy it. Really nice one, this one. Don't forget to check out Cape Calvin. Top map. I can see myself playing this one. Next up is Kford, which is in the North American theme, has a temperature range from -13 to 24 centigrade, is in the Northern Hemisphere, has a 31% buildable area, all of its outside connections, and all of its natural resources are available. For those interested in the natural resources, most of the mainland islands are filled with fertile land, so farming shouldn't be too much of an issue. And as always, the ore tends to lie around the foothills and the mountain spaces, with the oil dotted around the coastline. And for those looking to plan in some water pollution, the wind is blowing to a south or southeasterly direction from this perspective. So Kford is a really nice montage of inland waterways and kind of larger island spaces. So let's take a look at some of the more outstanding features. Really nice coastlines and terraforming here as well. We always like to see kind of properly done hills. It makes a real difference to the map for me. Over here we have kind of some cut and fill action to replicate what looks like a shipping canal. Really cool how they've done this with the pedestrian roads, and also had this big road, 4-lane highway, come across it to serve as a bridge. Very Scandinavian, I think this is. I don't know why. It reminds me of maybe Norway or something. Don't know where I've seen this before. Kind of don't know, triggering some memories from from somewhere. I can't remember exactly where though. But it looks really nice, doesn't it? And this does allow passage to the kind of inner, smaller waterways for your ships. Where indeed, yeah, you can see them moving around here. Hopefully we'll be able to see them pass through there in a second. There's lots of tunnels across the map over here. You can see one coming out this way to emerge over this way into some really nice, simple T interchange stuff. Again, making use of that cut and fill functionality. So always happy to see map makers using that. Now let's wait for the ship to come through. I think we're all waiting for this, aren't we? There we go. Would you look at that? That is delicious, isn't it? Fantastic. Really cool. See the ships actually using that as well. It's not just for form, it is function as well. We'll head over back to the mainlands over here, where again we have more tunnel action. Granted, maybe a little bit flooded, but you'll have to excuse some graphical glitching and tearing with CS2. And then this does spill over into your starting tile over here, where there's some pretty convoluted road network stuff going on here. Some nice detailing as well using those pathways, which is really nice to see. But pretty simple kind of like triangle roundabout intersection here, using some one-way slip roads to help divert traffic around. Before one of those tunnels does make another appearance, which does again merge back out over here. Before joining some nice designed interchange action over here. It's really well put together, this interchange, isn't it? I really like how he's done these roundabouts with the slip lanes. Very cute, very tasteful. And then more connections here to be expanded in and around the waterways before those tunnels make another appearance over this way. And then continue to snake really around the islands. More brilliant interchange work over here as well, with mapmakers clearly a fan of this design, isn't he, with the two slip lanes leaving the roundabout. So this is great to see, all that intercity traffic also using it as well. Before that intercity connection does disappear over the hill and far away. Again, more really nice mountain work, very nice forested hills and mountains around the waterways. Very interesting landscapes to build on, I think. And much more buildable than the vanilla maps, of course. The terrain here is not super flat by any means, but it's definitely more buildable than, you know, what came with the game. So if you're not interested in like dead super flat maps, but something with a little bit of hills and sort of ebb and flow to it, this map's going to be a great choice for you. Another one of these interchanges over here before it does arrive at more dead connections where you can expand. Before the road does turn into a little dirt road where the map maker has kind of egged you on here, if you like, to maybe form some agriculture over this way towards the edge of your buildable space. Just with some dirt road frames and gentle tree lining. And there's also some nice river work through here as well. It's always nice to see the map makers use these new small waterways that are possible in CS2 now. Because these kind of narrow waterways weren't really that doable in CS1 just because of how everything behaved. But I really like all the river work we're seeing in these custom maps since PDX Mods launched last week. So really happy to see it all used. And then this main waterway does spill back out into the main body of water, which of course joins the shipping lanes that we saw earlier. And then there's more infrastructure over here where the boats are passing by. You got a nice little embanked train line here, next to the ferry line, which is really cute. I imagine the train police are probably going to be quite upset with that. I imagine that's not the most sensible train gradient in the world. But of course, you can't always change it yourself. Train police will certainly not be happy with that one. But over here, there is some very nice kind of train bridge action spine across the valleys. So you probably want to change that, I imagine, if you bothered about train gradients. But otherwise, the infrastructure is very tastefully done. Blowing into bridges where necessary, and tunnels, and then coming back down here where he's got a little construction site. That's so cool. He's used some of those mining props there to kind of make like a road construction area, and I'm guessing that's kind of like a smoke sort of projector, I guess. I'm not sure what that is to get that effect, but that's super cool to build in a little road construction site like that. Very unique, haven't seen that done before. And then this does pan off here as well, where he's got some more of those construction props. So look forward to stumbling across some little bits of prop detailing around the map here if you want to play this one. This is very clever. This is really nice. I like how he's done this. Cute bit of road construction detailing. And then this highway spans off and around into another tunnel, which again merges out into more expandable area with some pretty interesting interchange designs over here. Before that road does turn into a bridge, or ending as another expandable connection. But a really varied map, some nice terrain, some great network designs as well, and some very cute prop detailing to be had. Really good map, Kford. It's linked down below. Go try it out and let me know what you think. Next up is Wanaka, New Zealand from Rafterman NZ, who we looked at last week as well, who did the wonderful Black Dragon Canyon and Lake Anoki, if you remember those maps from last week's map video. So already an established map maker in CS2, and Wanaka, again based off of a real hype map in New Zealand, is within the North American hemisphere. Temperature range between -13 and 24 degrees centigrade. Lies within the Northern hemisphere, has a 42% buildable area, with all outside connections and all natural resources available. For those looking at natural resources, plenty of fertile land here. You shouldn't have any issue getting your farms down where you want them, especially around the flatlands and the waterways, or localised within the foothills and the mountain slopes, with oil also pretty abundant as well. And for those looking at planning some industry, your air pollution is blowing to a west or southwesterly direction from the bay perspective. So I'm already a massive fan of Rafterman's work after what he debuted on PDX Mods last week. So we'll start out with what is obviously your starting tile here. There has been some very basic grid frames installed in the map, which I know some people aren't a fan of having infrastructure in at all. But for this, I think this is super inspiring for someone who's maybe not the best at starting cities, or is just simply lacking that inspiration. Just having a bit of preset grid just to get something going can be quite inspiring sometimes. Love this big kind of open spot in the grid here. Looks like it's perfect for a park. If you are playing with mods, then maybe you can use some of the texture things here from Find It to create a bit of a beachfront and kind of totally change the theme of the landscape here. So really nice, and the landscape around it is kind of pretty mixed between rolling hills and some really flat buildable space. Of course, based off of a real height map, so I think that always helps with that, but the map maker still has to convert this into a proper space, and really nice networking here with train passing over the national roads. And I'm always happy to see a map that has kind of smaller national roads in it rather than massive 3 or 4 lane highways. I've definitely kind of grown to appreciate the county builds a lot more as over the years I've played city skylines rather than the huge sort of sprawling mega American grids with 4 lane highways putting them apart. So Rafterman's maps are just a dream to play if you're into that county style build with all the little national highway roads knocking about, and of course you can start constructing your own major highway networks off the back of that. So towards your map edge here, you have a nice little valley to play with where the river does cut through the land and under all these networks to eventually join up with a main riverway over here where we do get a little system with the highway and the train. So these two networks are cutting right through the middle of the map here, so nice and easily expandable and just very well done. I love all these little dead ends here with the road. You can really picture setting up some farmsteads here, can't you? Especially with all the kind of tree lines helping to demarcate land boundaries, so I always enjoy seeing this sort of stuff. Really nice. This is all your main kind of buildable flatland here before you do hit your map edge over this way, which is functioning of course as one of your outside connections. with distributing traffic around. The main riverways also come through here as well, where we saw that little couplet system with the train and the road over here earlier, serving as another outside connection. Same over here as well. There is just a little bit of tear in there, but having played with the map maker, I can understand how annoying that is. So riverways spilling through here back to another outside connection over this way, so the map's got plenty of outside connections. Got like, what, 4 we've counted so far already on the roads. And then over this side of the map, you do start to lose that flat buildable space and develop more into rolling hills, which is really nice. And of course, with it being a New Zealand height map as well, the mountain backdrops are very Mines of Moria, very Middle Earth, isn't it? Very, you shall not pass. So really nice mountains available here. And these foothills are really cute too. Definitely get some castles up here or something, or little custom parks now with all the mods we can play with. And then of course I'm always a fan of dense forested shoreline and hills, so really pretty landscapes. Rafterman is certainly making a reputation for himself as knowing how to put a map together. This one is certainly no exception. Definitely go check out last week's video as well. If you want to see 2 of his maps featured there, Lake Anoki and Black Dragon Canyon. I think currently 2 of the most subscribed maps on the PDX Mods storefront. So he knows what he's doing, clearly. This is a very nice map. But really nice starting grid area, some superb landscapes to work with as well beyond that. You can't go wrong with Wanaka. Give it a try. It's on the PDX Mods store and it's linked down below. Let me know what you think of it. Our next map is Sunset Beach, which is a North American theme. A 10 to 31 degrees centigrade map, lies in the Northern Hemisphere, a 37% buildable area, with all connections and all resources available. For those interested in the natural resources, as always on custom maps, fertile land is never a problem, super abundant all around your waterways, plenty of forestry and ore available near the foothills as well. Not an enormous amount of oil, but certainly enough to establish at least a small industry based around it. And for those looking to plan in some industry, all of your air pollution is blowing inland away from the ocean, so to the west and northwesterly perspective from this orientation. So let's take a look around Sunset Beach, and first of all, the thing that draws your eye is this absolutely gorgeous delta that sits at the head of the bay. I don't know if this has been taken from a height map. Editing Egg will confirm for us if it's in the map description, but if it isn't, this is some pristine terraforming. This must have taken a long bloody time, but I just look at it, it's almost mesmerizing to look at, isn't it? Very kind of northern. Oh yeah, let's catch this cargo train as well. That's going to be good, isn't it? Oh, would you look at that? That's a screenshot for the thumbnail, isn't it? Lovely stuff. Reminds me very much of kind of the northern Australian territories, or maybe summer landscapes around kind of southern Florida. It's more toward the Everglades. But super nice deltalands all the way through here. So if you're a fan of building in around rivers, this map is just gorgeous. I really like how he's done this, especially with the elevated train line. Reminds me of very much, is it Key West in Florida? I'm not massively familiar with Miami. But this sort of infrastructure very much reminds me of that for some reason. Maybe I saw some B-roll watching Dexter or something. Not entirely sure. But then the train line, it does rejoin the mainland before. It also runs parallel with a national highway, which leaves the map as your outside connections against the mountains here. But there are some smaller waterways spilling into the main body of water here. So big, nice, flat, buildable space all against the bay and the coast to build up your main city centre, I suppose, is probably where you'd plan out this map, I think. Definitely making use of all these islands. So really pretty, probably a lot of inspiration to take from Florida for a map like this. The waterways then come down and out of the mountains in various ways, and even see a little kind of like river source here as well, can't you, where it is flowing down. Which is really nice to see riverways like that. We got another little sort of isolated lake up here as you start to climb into the foothills of the map. So just like the previous one we looked at, this one isn't just total flat buildable space, which I know people do enjoy, but if you're looking for a bit of mix of both here, you can definitely get it with Sunset Beach, as the cargo train passes by the passenger train here on its way out to an outside connection over this way, before enjoying more waterways, more bridges, more winding rivers, and lots more tasteful bay spaces to use and build up in. So really nice map here. Starts to come a bit of embanked, a couple of rock details, and then this one does flow over toward your outside connection as it ends. Heading back over here, there is an enormous build space here. Seeing something like this leads me to believe this is probably a height map. I don't think he would have terraformed something like this in. But, you know, this is the beach to your sunset beach, isn't it? This is where you can come in and hopefully do something with your beach properties a little more authentically, because he has actually done some of the sand texture here in the map, which is very nice. You know, to see map makers factoring in a different texture, because I think the change in theme from CS1, that's been the biggest loss, I think, hasn't it? I know we have the map texture replacer mod now, but you know, just a difference in texture makes a world of difference. So you have an enormous beach to play with here. It's super wide, super long, and a decent size and shape as well, so plenty you can do with it. Before we do arrive at the end of it, where there is some kind of preset rail infrastructure, there is a bridge out here. I don't think this is... Is this an outside connection? I don't think it is. The map edge is over here. So I'm not sure what this one is. I guess again just to serve as an outside connection, but that bridge is going across the 7 seas. This is going out way into the ocean. So you might want to do something with that. But all the infrastructure here is kind of leading you down to maybe place your rail yard over here, and lots of industry train infrastructure up against the coast if you want to. Before this does snake off again through some nice tunnel work over here. Well, at least it's kind of egging you on to build that tunnel yourself. It's not actually in the map. And then it does continue off into another dead end where again you could set up more train infrastructure over this way if you wanted to. And then this loops back around to the starting bay where there is more of that beach texture if you wanted to do something with the DLC. And then more waterways as we arrive back toward all the starting networks over here, where again we're seeing that use of cut and fill and layering come back in, which is really nice. Always happy to see that from the map makers. But a really pretty map, especially with the Delta Land in here as well. Plenty you can do with this one, and I'm always happy to see the beach texture in as well. Textures always make a massive difference to maps, so love to see things like that in. You'll enjoy Sunset Beach, give it a go, let me know what you think of it. Next up we have Timphu, which is based off of the actual real-life capital of Bhutan, with a height map. If you do not like mountains, this map probably isn't for you. But it comes in the North American theme, a -13 to 24 degree temperature range, lies in the Northern Hemisphere, has one of the lowest buildable areas we've ever seen and are ever likely to see with just 8%. It does not have a boat connection, but road, rail and plane are all available, and it also has all natural resources. For those interested in those natural resources, there are little veins of ore riding up the mountain ridges, while the bottom valley is where all your fertile land is, with the oil lying toward the head of that valley. Those interested in planning in pollutive industry, your wind pollution is blowing to a south and southwesterly perspective from this orientation. So taking a closer look at Timphu, this is a really pristine map, but very different from anything we've looked at so far. I'll try and include a nice variation of maps here. So if you're not a fan of difficult terrain and layering and using, you know, the landscape to help plan your city, this probably isn't the map for you. But if you are one of those people, you can just see here, right, look at all the different layers going on here with the train lines and the road overlapping. There's a nice river that cuts through the entire floor of the valley, and the networks are just weaving and crossing over each other. It's very nicely done. We'll take a stop over here by some of the starting networks, where you do have some really nice creative interchange work here, nice slip lanes to get back on and off the highway before you have your town over this way, where there is also some rural power lines knocking about as well as your outside power connection. So really nice, right? It's just, the map kind of speaks for itself. You know, you're not going to build up a massive multi-million population city on here. There's simply just not the room or the topography for it. But if you're looking for a rural mountainous build, or you want to take real life inspiration from Bhutan, then this map is already perfectly set up for that. But really nice landscape, isn't it? Let's just sort of move through the valley here together. Always densely forested. We always know this is a big plus for me. Terrain police might have something to say about a few of the gradients, but it doesn't bother me. But you might want to just smooth some of them out if it does bother you. And then they all snake down the valley. Some nice island work knocking about in the river over here as well. So don't forget there is no sea connection on this map, of course, so if you are looking to play with harbours and big cruise liners, this isn't going to be the map for you. But besides that, you can get an airport in here if you want. Train line then goes under the mountain and over the hill and far away, where it emerges over this side with some very dramatic mountain networks here with the train line. Super impressive. We all know on the channel how much I love a layer of height, so to see big mountain train lines like this is very exciting for me. Have a little look here as it comes around. Mountains are just absolutely enormous, aren't they? Otherwise, I've never really heard of Bhutan or Timphu either. So to see it as a height map in City Skylines 2 for the first time is quite inspiring. And then these peel off to form outside connections that then disappear into the non-buildable space. But our road connection, it does run parallel with the river. Where another little channel comes down here out of the mountains as well. A really nice waterwork here again too, isn't it, as it all bleeds down into the river. You have to give some patchy waterness, but it's just plain. If you've tried to use the map maker yet, you know how difficult the bloody CS2 waterways can be. It can be a nightmare when it wants to be, so you have to forgive some of that, but still very well done as it comes down into that main valley again, where we do arrive back at where we started. So a really, really nice map indeed. Very unique landscape. Will not be for everyone, understandably. If you're not a fan of your terrains and your hills here, I'd probably advise you stay away from this one. But it is a bit of a wildcard map with an only 8% buildable area. You can probably get some really nice, focused, super highly detailed villages going on through this valley. So let me know if you're planning to play this one. I'd be very interested if you are. But it's down below. Go check it out. Let me know what you think. Otherwise, guys, that will do it for another 5 amazing, fantastic maps that are now available on the Paradox store. It's really fun to see what map makers are already doing with CS maps, and they seem to be getting better every week. It's nice to see some new names popping up in the map making community as well. Thank you for the support on these videos. You guys are very much enjoying the look at the maps on CS2, so we'll keep them coming. And if you have any maps you would like to see featured, or indeed one of your own maps, please do let me know in the comments on Twitter or on our Discord, which is down below. Massive shout out to the patrons that support the channel. If you're interested in getting a little bit more egg in your life, there is a Patreon and Instant Gaming down below, which are the 2 best ways to support the channel. Otherwise, let's thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.